and as we go through today's webinar, as we get into the system and as we're moving through different parts of CHAMPS, if there is something in the system that I know for certain that's going to be changed, as far as what you're seeing on the screen versus what you'll see on the screen a little bit later on next week, I'll stop and pause and kind of tell you, now this is something that the coders are changing. We've sent about 10 or 12 changes over to our coding partners over at Stantec. I'm actually going over this afternoon and sitting down with them and reviewing those changes, the progress that they've made on it. And so we expect you to be able to get into the system early to mid next week, and we'll send out an update letting you know when you can actually go in and you can start really working on your project in the live system. And so what happens on our fix process with the system is we have this training system. Stantec will make changes in the training system. KYM staff comes in to the training system. We test those changes, those fixes that Stantec makes. Then we give a thumbs up or thumbs down on those, and then they push them over to the live system that you'll be working in. Okay. So if you're on the call today, that means that your project has been selected for funding or to be completed and submitted to FEMA for possible funding. And so congratulations, first of all, through making it through that first hurdle. We really appreciate you submitting your mitigation action forms. Those were reviewed by the Kentucky Mitigation Council back in January. Those were reviewed and selected. So what we're going to do today is we're going to show you how to get into the project module and where you will go to actually work your project. And we're actually going to use one of the MAFs that were selected. We're going to be using the Shelby County generator project submitted by local EM over in Shelby County, Paul Whitman. So if you noticed across the top of CHAMPS, we have several different links across the top. What I did is I clicked on the projects link. And so you see there are some drop downs here coming down, but basically what we're going to do is we're going to look at over on the left hand side. You have mitigation actions overview. That's where you went in and you created your MAF. And then today we're going to be looking at the mitigation projects overview. So step 1 is projects. Step 2 is mitigation projects overview. So we're going to click on that. And as the screen comes up, you will see that there have been new mitigation action forms selected. And basically what that means is that the Hazard Mitigation Council, the Kentucky Mitigation Council, has selected your projects to move forward. So as you scroll down through here, you see different projects. The MAF titles, we have 57 Fallsburg Road landslide acquisition project, City of Coal Run, City of Prestonsburg flood mitigation project. And you can see the projects. You can click on the text and it'll pop open and it'll give you more details about that specific project. So this is not a competition between different MAFs. So if you wanted to actually take a look at some of these projects, you can click on the text and you can actually see what's going on there. But for today, we're going to focus on Shelby County, and I'm going to increase the size of the screen just a little bit for you so maybe that you can see a little bit better. Once again, if you have any kind of questions during the time, just type those in, and I'll attempt to answer those as we go along or maybe at the tail end of it. So if you are the author of the project, if you're the person who submitted the mitigation action form, then you will go in and you'll click on the blue button that says Create New Project. We're taking this mitigation action form and we're moving it over to an actual project that will be submitted to KYM and then eventually submitted on your behalf to FEMA. So what it does is it actually pulls a lot of the information, not all the information, but it pulls a lot of the information over to the application phase. So the information that you put into the MAF, it'll pull that over. It gives you a chance to double check the information that you entered several months back and verify that information and then start adding to that a little bit more. It brings over the project title, the Shelby County Government Generator Project. The applicant organization in this instance is the Shelby County Fiscal Court. And which disaster was this associated with? Of course, this funding is coming through as a part of DR 4196, the August 2014 storms. That's already pre-populated. The project description that you would have put into the MAF, that is carried over. So at this time, if you need to make any small changes to it, and I emphasize small because you don't want to get off of what you originally proposed, because that's how your project was selected based on your proposal. But if you do need to make just a few small tweaks to it, this is the time to go in and actually do that. Of course, you want to give your project location. Where is it located? And Paul actually put in the latitude and longitude, and he put it in degrees and minutes. We need to get this into decimal form. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over and I'm going to jump onto Google, maps.google.com, and I'm going to look up our location, which is 419 Washington Street, Shelbyville, Kentucky. And we're going to do a little right click on this. And we're going to actually get the true latitude and longitude in decimal value, which FEMA requires everything to be in decimal value. Okay, so our latitude, you can see I'm just copying and pasting that right in. It's that simple. Okay, so the address is 419 Washington Street in Shelbyville, Kentucky, directly behind the Shelby County Fiscal Court building. The coordinates for this location are, and it has in the degrees there, of course now we have them in decimal point. And if you notice, it actually does say in the guidance under each question, you'll have a little bit of guidance, and it does say that it does need to be in decimal degrees only. For different project types, you're going to have different questions. So if you have a generator project, if you have an acquisition project, if you have a elevation project, there's going to be different specific questions for each project. And we call those project type specific questions. Makes sense. If you remember on your mitigation action form, you may have been asked for specific information that had to do with your generator or had to do with your acquisition project. That carries over into the application. So you see here on page 1, and we'll be seeing, or in step 1, and you'll be seeing them a little bit later on, these questions that you answered that have to do with your generator, those get carried over. So things like what size is the generator? Is it a portable or is it a fixed generator? Is this a fully operational generator during power? Is the load being stepped in? What kind of voltage is it carrying? So just different things like that was filled out in the MAF. So let's click next and let's move on. So now we're in step 2, where you start listing the contacts of your project. Some of this pulls over from the MAF. Others you have to go in and maybe change. I'm going to actually put in the project contacts for this. So the application was prepared by Paul. And let's go and let's find Paul Whitman. And for some reason it's not letting me find his name in here. Normally it'll just do a straight type into it. So we'll go in and we'll find someone and make them the contact on it. And all the names that are available to you, these are names that you can pick and put in there. And that's something that really I hadn't run into before, not being able to pick and change the name on it. So that's something kind of new with it. So we will find out what's going on with that. Okay. Now this does allow you to actually type in. So the project manager is going to be Paul Whitman. Okay, there's Paul inside of iTeams. And the chief executive officer is going to be their judge executive, who's Rob Rothenberger. And if Rob is not listed in here, we can probably go on ahead and type his name in. Oh, thought I saw it there. There you go. So it goes in and it actually searches to find that person for us. And I will check with them and see what's going on with that first piece up there. So we have our contacts in. And what it should do, and we're working with Stantec to make sure it does, it should pull over all of their contact information so that when we get to the last page of this application, it's going to have the organization name and their address, and it's going to have the contact names and their addresses and everything in there. So that was something that we wanted to do to make it a little bit simpler for you. So step 3, and if you notice, you have different steps across here as I'm kind of moving my mouse across, and there's a little blue bar. I can grab that little blue bar and I can take and I can drag to change steps. So I can drag left or right, so I can move forward several steps, or I can go backwards several steps. But for today, we're just going to move through step by step, and I'll show you how you go back and change information in just a little bit. Now, in this first paragraph here, I'm going to take my highlighter and I'm going to highlight a paragraph for you. Okay. There's a application review checklist. that we have provided for you. Now, the checklist that is in the system right now, that checklist is a pretty large FEMA file. And let me clear out my little highlighter here. Okay. This is a FEMA file, 16-page application review that they use on the regional level, FEMA Region 4. We have a shorter 2-page one that we use here in Frankfurt, and we have that sent over to Stantec, so they'll have that uploaded. So we are providing you with a checklist, and this is something that you can download right at the very beginning. So as you're going through your application and you're filling out your application, you can make sure that you have all your information included in your application as you move through it. Okay, so that's just a little tool that we want to make you aware of. So wherever you see a link in there, just kind of check that out and see what's going on with it. So once again, the Associated Federal Disaster is DR 4196. What program type of it is it? It's already defaulted for you, the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. Your project, it remembers what project type you had, whether it's an acquisition project, a construction project, a mapping, planning. We're doing a generator project. So it remembered that and moved it forward. Now, this is where you want to start putting in your overview of your past damages. For mitigation projects, you have to be pretty extensive and you have to be pretty detailed about the damages that your community has incurred in the past. Because today is just a training, I'm not going to get real detailed on the type of damages I put in, but I'm going to go back, and this is Shelby County. Shelby County was one of those counties that was hit really hard back in 1974 by the tornado. So tornadoes. And this is kind of a narrative. Okay. Now, you would want to go in here and you would actually want to put different locations in and different things in there. Make this information as complete as possible. I will tell you as a clarifier, when it comes to the content of your application, the information that you put in your application, the Kentucky Hazard Mitigation Grant Managers, KYM Grant Managers, can really help you with that information. They can guide you as far as what to put in there, and are you providing enough information for it. When it comes to the system itself, CHAMPS itself, I'm the person that you can reach out to on that. I will show you where my email address is located inside the system in just a little bit, and where the email addresses and phone numbers for all the folks here in the mitigation department, mitigation sections are located. So let's jump back into what we were doing here, overview of past damages. You see here we have a detailed damages table. So this is where you could actually go in and you could actually record and capture and display those prior damages that you kind of want to be considered as a part of your application to prove the case, to prove the need for this generator. So let's say that back last year, 2014, let's say in April of 2014, on April 9th, that we had a pretty bad storm come through. Maybe it was a really bad flood. And we say, this is one of those floods that, it's like a 100-year flood. So we can go in and we can actually pick the type of event that this would be. Now, what's the percentage chance of this thing ever happening again? Well, there's a 10% chance of it happening every year. There's a 0.4% chance, like every 250 years. You hear about these events that happens like, oh, this is a 500-year flood or this is a 100-year flood. So we're going to pick this, and we're going to say Shelby County experienced flooding on a county-wide basis in April. Forgive my typing. Okay. Be affected. And you could do like schools were closed, just a narrative of what all happened with this specific event that you're reporting on. Okay. Now, in dollars and cents, what was the damage amount? How much damage did this event that we're reporting on, how much did it cause? This was a pretty major event, so it caused $550,000. Okay. And what were the indirect costs? Okay, so you have those direct costs, like you had bridges washed out, you had culverts that were blown out, you had roofs that were taken off of government buildings, and now we have the indirect cost. And this is where you actually kind of have to go into what was the economic impact on the county. You had roads closed because you had bridges washed out. Those people couldn't get to work. Power was out for some period of time. So because of that power being out, there were businesses that were closed. So as you get with your economic development folks in the county and you look back at these things, what was the indirect cost? So we're going to say that there was actually $2 million in indirect costs. Now, once again, just for today's training, I'm just kind of going through and showing you what each one of the tables will do, but you would definitely want to be a little bit more detailed about this. Okay. Now, this is one of those things that we said that we are going to change right here where it has NOAA documentation and other supporting docs. Okay, I'm going to highlight that for you. Okay, right here where it says NOAA documentation and other supporting docs. We're going to change that to an upload link so that you can actually upload those supporting documents that you have found online and that you've downloaded. We'll probably leave a little notes field in here for you to put links to, like the National Weather Service or NOAA, so that if you do want to provide a link to that you can put that in there also. Okay, so just want to let you know that that's going to be a spot that we're going to change. Okay. And let's save that detailed damage table. This is a problem that we're having with it. The coders over at Stantec are aware of it. When it goes to write this detailed damage into the SQL database, it's giving us this error. It is actually saving it, though. So we backed right out of it, and you see the level of event and the statement and everything. So we are getting that fixed, getting that taken care of. So when you're in it next time, you'll actually be able to see it as it adds it to the table down here. You can add multiple detailed damage records to this. Okay, so you're not limited to just one. So let's go ahead and let's jump to step 4, the project and cost descriptions, the useful life of the project. This is a generator project, so we're going to say that it is useful for 25 years. Your project description that you put into your mitigation action form, that is, like I said, once again, carried over. Now you have to start explaining how you determined the cost of this project. So, project cost, please describe how the cost estimates for this project were determined. So we're going to say, as with most local governments, that a request for proposal was advertised in the local paper and sealed bids were accepted. Sealed bids were opened at a regularly scheduled fiscal court meeting. And you could even go in and you could say what date these were opened. You want to be as detailed as possible. And the lowest bid that met. Okay, so we're just typing in, what's going on and, and how you determine this. So as much information as you can provide. If you've done these mitigation projects in the past, you want to be as detailed as possible. So you're familiar with hazard mitigation. 75% of the project is going to be funded by FEMA. 13% is going to be funded by yourself on the local level, the local applicant, and then 12% is going to be funded by the state. So what type of money are you going to use on the local level? So let's talk a little bit about the project share. How are you going to be paying for this on the local level? What money is being used? If you're doing in-kind match to help pay for this, where is that in-kind match coming from? So if you have a generator project, you're going to have to do some site prep. You're going to need to get some leveling work done. You'll need to get gravel work done, concrete work done. That could possibly be done by your road department, by an engineering department that is part of your county government. That would be an in-kind match. But for today's exercise, we're going to say that the Shelby County Fiscal Court is going to pay for this totally out of hand, or totally out of pocket, out of the general fund. So Shelby County will be paying local share 12%, 13% out of general fund. So we're saying that the Shelby County Fiscal Court is paying their local share out of the general fund. Be as detailed as possible. I'm just kind of showing you how we walk through it. Okay. So the hazard mitigation applications require you to specify what hazards you're mitigating against. So if you think about a generator being used for the fiscal court building, what are the uses for that, or how will that help you out? This was a flooding event, so maybe you want to pick that this generator will help you in case of flooding. Okay, so we're going to say flash flooding. We're going to add that one. Once again, we've already established that Shelby County is affected by tornadoes. Shelby County is affected by hail. Shelby County is affected by ice storms and by straight line winds. Okay. So if you notice, as we add these different hazards over here, it will prioritize them. So you're starting to think about it, and you're thinking, well, is flash flooding really the number one hazard that we have in Shelby County? And having grown up in Shelby County, I know that really tornadoes and straight line winds are more prevalent than flash flooding. Now there are some, of course, like any county, there's some low-lying areas, but really tornadoes and straight line winds are the number 1 and 2. So we can go over and we can actually change our order of our priorities, and that helps out. It helps FEMA decide whether or not to fund this. So just more information that you have to include in there. Now, impacted structures. Really important with siren projects, and especially with acquisition and elevation projects. So for this one on a generator project, we're doing a kind of a courthouse building. So we're going to find what type of building this is in here. And you notice we have airport facilities, bridges, businesses and commercial properties, emergency operations centers, fire departments, hospitals, and all the different things that are listed through here. We're going to say that this is a public building. Okay, and how often will it protect this? This is where the level of event protection. Please indicate the level of event the structure is protected against by the project. So how often do you think this generator will be helping this public building? It kind of goes back to how often do you incur these disasters, these problems. So we're going to say, like maybe its level of event is going to be like 5 years. Okay, so you think that probably every 5 years this generator is going to have to kick on, and it's going to have to actually carry this building. And so we're just doing one building right here, and we can go in and we can add in more structures. If we were going to do a siren, okay, how many structures are in the area of that siren, or in that half mile, or a safe room? How many structures are in that area? So you can go in and you can actually add multiple structures in there, and you can put the number of structures that are in here and the type of structures. Okay, and once again, if we put more of them in here, you can go in and you can reorder those. Okay, so the project location, once again, we've already put that in one time, but we're going to go in and we're going to type that in one more time. 419 Washington Street. Location is Shelbyville, Kentucky. Zip code is 465. And it carries our lat long over from before. Project latitude is 38.212 and a whole bunch of other numbers. And the longitude is negative 85.212. I will caution you, please remember to put the negative in front of 85. If not, your project will end up somewhere over in the Middle East. And we'll have to kind of search around, and of course it won't be right. So just make sure that you get that right on that. Okay. Step 8, flood hazards and site maps. This is where you will attach your maps. This is where you will attach pictures of your project. And when we talk about maps, we want to see the location. What flood zone is it in? The firm map, the defirm map. Go out and find that flood map. Now, I did not go out and find a flood map for the Shelby County Fiscal Court building, but I did find just a regular map, using Google. So I'm going to call this just a map of the building. Okay, Google 419 Washington Street. You can upload almost unlimited number of files with your project. So you just go and you type in the name of the file, so we can kind of see what it is, and then give us a description of the file. Okay, and I'm going to find that map that I downloaded this morning. I called it Shelby Map, and then I'm going to submit that. And if you notice, it gives you a little green line showing that it's been done, and it starts to put a little list under here. Now, when you're doing these projects, you have to put in photographs for each project site. Okay, so we're going to put in different photos of the Shelby County Courthouse, which is right across from the Fiscal Court building. So let's say Shelby Courthouse front view. Okay, front view of the Shelby County. So if you're doing a generator at a volunteer fire department, you want to get the pictures of that volunteer fire department from all angles. And we're submitting that. And if you notice here, it's adding those pictures down through here. We're going to go rear, we'll do Shelby Courthouse rear. I want to remind you that if you're doing a generator, that you need to mark on the picture, you need to show where that generator is going to be located. X marks the spot for the generator. And we're going to add another one. I think that this is the back side of it. Okay. And so you see I've added 3 different pictures to it. Okay. So we're going to click next and move forward. Now we start to get into our costs associated with this project. So when we think about a generator project, what type of materials would we come up with? Of course, we're going to have the generator itself. And you could put the brand of it. So let's go with a Kohler. Okay, and this total for the project, I kind of pulled up the map earlier and took a look at it. The total for the project is $22,200. So let's say that the generator itself cost $18,000. Okay, we're going to save that one. And as you add in each item, you will see that it starts to list them in a little table underneath it. Okay, so other materials will be diesel fuel. Usually you'll get enough fuel just with the generator to kind of get it up and going and everything. So you can list this either in gallons or as a total. So we're going to go per gallon. Okay, we're going to say that diesel fuel got really cheap. It's $2 a gallon. And we're going to say that it's 100 gallons that came with it. So as you notice there, it gave us $200 for the cost of our diesel. Okay, so let's say we know that there's some other expenses like the auto switch, transfer switch. We're going to say it's really cheap. This one's only going to cost $100. And of course, some wiring and pipe. Okay, and we're going to say that it's $100. Once again, just for demonstration purposes today to show you how it adds up over here. Okay, so labor, it's going to cost a little bit of money to put this project together. We've spent about $18,400 so far on it. We know that this costs $22,200. Let me grab my calculator because I want to get my numbers to be just right on it. $20,200 minus $18,400. It's going to leave us with about $3,800. So labor costs, site prep. It's going to cost us, let's say it's going to cost us $2,000 for site prep. And let's say for other labor, that leaves us about $1,800. It's going to cost $500 install. Okay. All right, so I'm going to do some real quick math here because we got a few more expenses that we need to account for. 18,400 plus 2,500. That leaves us, it's 20,900. Okay, so 22,200 minus 20,900. Y'all forgive me while I do quick math. Minus 20,900. It's going to leave us with about $1,300, and that's what we're going to use on the next page for our fees. So inspection and certification. And they got really expensive all of a sudden. They're $1,300. Okay, boom. So that gives us all of our individual cost items. Now, I will tell you on this, please be very specific. There should be no lump sums entered into the budget. Please be as transparent and as detailed as possible when entering expenses. So one of the things, and this is a good time for me to back up just a little bit and show you how to move back. One of the things I wanted to point out to you right here, I'm going to once again use the highlighter. Our coders put a sentence in here that we're getting changed. If you notice here, it says, do not include project administrative cost in the budget. Okay, that is not necessarily true. For some projects like acquisition, construction projects, elevation projects, for large projects, you can include administrative costs in here. So that wording will be changed. Okay, so I just want to let you know the wording will be changed on that. So, and if you notice, all I did was I just clicked back to the prior step and it took me back. At this point in time, if I wanted to change one of these items, I could go in and I could delete the wiring and pipe. I could add it back in and just change the price on it. Okay, so we can actually do that. So let's go ahead and move forward. It saved our fees that we put in there, the inspection fees of $1,300. So let's move on forward. Now let's break this down. We got $22,200 worth of cost. So let's start talking about how this is going to be paid for. We know that FEMA is going to pay for 75% of it. 75% of $22,200 is $16,650. Okay. And as you add in the different cost shares to it, it gives you a running total over here just to kind of help you out, just kind of let you match up. So we know that 13% of this is going to be paid by local. 13% is $2,886. And you have to separate your local into cash and in kind. So if we had used some labor, some local labor, employees of the fiscal court, if we had used those employees, we would need to put their cost down here under in kind, and then also record how much cash we're actually putting into it, writing checks out for the project. But for today, we're not using any type of local share or any kind of in-kind money. Now, regardless of what you put over here on the left-hand side, we put in here 0, okay, because there's no in-kind. You have to put a number in these fields on the left-hand side. And you have to put some information over on the right-hand side where it says funding sources. So we're using $2,886 worth of cash from the general fund of Shelby County Fiscal Court. So you have to tell where that money is coming from. Local share, gosh, can't type today, will be paid for by Shelby County Fiscal Court. Okay, and you can put general fund if that's where it's coming from, wherever it's coming from. Disaster fund, something like that. The state share we know is going to be 12%, which is $2,664. And if we look back up to the top, it gives us our exact amount, $22,200. Is there any money coming from any outside sources? No, there's not. Any other agencies? You have to put something on the other side, so none requested. Other non-FEMA federal funds, 0. None requested. Okay, click next and move forward. Now, this is where you get into the timeline, and I will tell you that we're having some problems with the timeline right now. This is a milestone table, but you do want to go ahead and you want to click these in. We are aware of it. We know what's going on with it, and Stantec is getting that taken care of. First thing that you want to do is you want to do a master agreement with state. It takes 150 days. and you'll see what's going to happen when we do it. We get this error message, and when you come back to it, it is recorded in there. So let's go ahead and let's add some more things into it. You have to accept bids. 75 days. Once again, it's going to give us that error message. Should be listed over on the side. Site prep, 120 days. We would encourage you to give yourself quite a bit of extra room on these days. If you think something's going to take 3 weeks to complete, let's say you're going to do site prep and you're thinking it's going to take 2 or 3 weeks to get that site prepped, give yourself an extra week or two, because you could run into a month like we had in April where it's raining a lot. So just give yourself a little bit of padding. Be realistic, but give yourself some padding in there. If you notice, what it's doing is it is totaling up the number of days. We have total so far 345 days. You can come in and you can change these around. Part of the problem that we're having with it right now is the ordering on it isn't working just right. But it will allow us to go through and change the order on that. And it did actually start to put 1, 2, 3. So if you are thinking, oh wow, I forgot this step, you can add this step into it and then go in and reorder it and kind of drop it into the place where it should be. So let's click on next. Now we get into supporting documents. Okay, this is where you want to put all your maps, any type of documentation that you think need to be in here. Consult with your KYM grant manager. Make sure that stuff is in there. I'm going to add just one more document into this. So let's call it another picture of the courthouse. We're going to call it Courthouse 3. We're going to select our file. Boom. All right, and you see here's our supporting documentation. It just keeps adding all the different documents in. So let's click next. Those additional questions, those project-specific type questions, it gives you one last opportunity to come in and review those. Okay. Make sure all of those are answered correctly. Click next. And it gives you a review and a submit. So it allows you to go in and just look at all the information that you've put in. Gives you a chance to see, is this what we want to do? If you notice over here where it says indicated flood zones, that is empty right now. We're getting that taken care of. Okay, it just kind of gives you a summary of it. Now, got some major changes that we're going to make right here where it says finalize. This green finalize button. And I'm going to use my highlighter one more time. This green finalize button will be changed. It'll be changed to create alternative project. Okay, and some of the wording that you're about to see will not be on your screen when you go in to do your projects. Okay, but I am going to go ahead and click this. Now, to do your alternative project, there's a link down here that says alternative project overview. We're going to have that be a lot bigger, and it'll be over here on the green. We'll click that. And now, if you're familiar with hazard mitigation, you have to submit 2 alternative projects. One alternative project is do nothing. Okay, so that's something that'll be automatically considered. We're going to do a really quick alternative project. We're going to call this the Shelby County Fiscal Court Building Reconstruction Project. If you didn't have that generator, what could you do to alleviate this problem instead of the generator? You have to kind of think this out a little bit. You do actually have to give a few little costs to it. And you have to tell where it would take place, because it has to look like a actual project that you would seriously consider. I'm just typing in some verbiage here. If you had to reconstruct the building, it would cost $550,000. Wow, it costs more than that. Let's say it cost $2 million. $2 million. Local share of $2 million would be 13% be 130. Is that right? That'd be 13,000. Well, let's just figure it out real quick. 2 million times 0.13. That's going to be about 260,000. I have trouble with those decimal points every now and then. Okay. And looks like we've got a question. Hey, Rebecca, see your question there. I'll try to answer that question when we get toward the end of it. Okay. So the project location, let's say, would be at the same location because we'd have to reconstruct it, maybe make it harder or something like that. Street. Shelbyville, Kentucky, 465. Same location on it, which, let's hope I still have my lat long pulled up there. Yep. All right. And I'm going to defer to the grant managers as to whether or not on this you actually have to upload pictures on the alternative project. I don't remember that. So if Jenny Jo's on, if she knows the answer to that, if she can answer that, if you have to actually upload the pictures to the alternative projects. I'm not familiar with that. So this would be a total reconstruction of the physical court building to withstand major disasters. Okay. Click next. Okay. Once again, you got to do flood maps on it. What flood zone is it in? It's in a pretty nice flood zone. Okay. It's in a C or an X. Once again, uploading your maps. Okay, another FEMA file, another firm map. Selecting the files. I'm going to put that same map that we had earlier. I'm going to upload it. Boom. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. It actually did tell us right there. It told us that yes, you do have to attach your photos. So if I would slow down and just kind of read a little bit, yes, it does show you what you do have to submit for that. Okay. Once again, on your costs, what's the item? Major construction. I'm just throwing in some numbers here. $1 million worth of major construction. Labor fees are going to be $750,000. Oops. Okay, and then that leaves $250,000 in fees, inspection and certification. You can tell I'm making these up as I go. So that gives us an even $2 million. Let's click next. You have to go in and say how it's going to be paid for. Times. FEMA's going to pay 75%, so that'll be $1.5 million. Okay. And so that means 2 million times 0.13. It gives us, whoops, make sure I got that right. 2 3 times 0.13 gives us 260,000 for local. And then 2 3 times 0.12. It's going to give us 240,000. Oh, went over it. And it will tell you. So If you went over your amount, it will warn you of that. Once again, we do have to put something in there. Okay. Any other agencies contributing? No. Next. Any supporting documents that you might want to put in? Gives you another review portion of it. And you notice we're not getting as detailed on this as we did on our actual original part of the application. Okay. So now we are at the point where we have submitted our project. Now we want to get that project out. We want to see this project. So if you notice, you have all those MAFs. Takes you back to that original spot where we were to pick your MAF. Okay. Now we know that the name of our project was Shelby County. Okay. Shelby County Government Project. Okay. So we can go down here and we can actually take a look at the Shelby County Government Project. We can see that it's been submitted. It's been submitted to Frankfurt for review. Okay. If you want to get the quick information on it, you can click on that. It'll give you all the quick little pieces of information on it. I'm kind of scrolling through pretty quickly. Kind of gives you kind of a quick breakdown on the project. You can see the status history on it, the dashboard, take you back and it'll show you project information, any BCA data that was associated with it, the project contacts, funding history with it. Okay. But what we want to do now is we actually want to go in and we want to export that project. We want to get that project out. Okay. So we go over under Mitigation Projects Overview and we go to Project Export because we do have to get this project signed. Okay. So Shelby County Government Generator Project. And you'll notice here that it gives us the opportunity to export this to a PDF. I'll make that a little bit bigger. Or we can export it to a Word document. Okay, good question that you've got there, Rebecca. Are letters of support considered supporting documents? You might want to clarify that. You know, like if, I'm assuming that you're talking about letters of support, like from community leaders from different groups around the community saying we really need this generator, or we really need this safe room. I don't know. I apologize for not being able to answer that question. Your grant manager or Jenny Jo would be able to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to export this to a PDF file. Now, the bigger your project, the longer it will take to export it. I would recommend that you export it to PDF because the formatting on PDF is much, much better than if you do it on a Word doc. For some reason, it doesn't format really well on the Word doc, but it formats just great on a PDF. So it's going to take about a minute here for this to export out to the Word document. What I'll do while that's actually doing it, I'm going to unmute everyone. Let me go down through here. So I've got everyone unmuted right now. If anyone has a question, Brian, Rebecca, Charlie, anybody, if you all have a question, feel free to ask that and everyone else will be able to hear it. Okay. Not hearing anybody with any questions, so that's okay. So I'm going to put you all kind of back in mute only mode or listen only mode. Okay, and we're still waiting for it to kick out the PDF for us. But I will show you one of the ones that was generated by the system a little bit earlier as I was working through it earlier in the week. This is a Arlington generator project. It gives you, an 18-page project to come through. If for some reason it doesn't fill out some of the information like the counties or the applicant name in there, it does give you the opportunity to come in and actually manually enter that in on your computer. So you can go in and just fill in some of that information. If for some reason the system didn't kick that out correctly, it will give you the opportunity at a later time to do it. Stuff that we're really concerned about, here we go. Acrobat updates. We're going to, all right. The thing that we're really concerned about is at the end, all the signature pages. So if you notice, I'm kind of scrolling through kind of quickly. to get down to our signature pages. All right, here's your maintenance agreement. Okay, and here's our executive officer certification. These are all things that have to be signed when you submit your application. And what you can do with these is you can sign them, actually come back into the project and then scan those and upload those in as supporting documents. You can email those in to your grant manager. Things that your fiscal court has to do, like designation of applicant's agent resolution, basically saying that this person is working on the authority of the local fiscal court. Okay, so all of those pieces of information that you have to submit, the signatures and everything, those are all included with your application there. Okay, so let's go back over and see. Yep, there it is. There is our generator project, the PDF form that was generated for us. Like I said, there's some information that won't be filled out. KYM assigns its own specific number to the project, the date that it was received, who reviewed it, the reviewer phone number, reviewer fax number, all that good information. That's stuff that will be put in here on the state level. This is information, like I said, that you can come back in and fill out. Let's go ahead and save this. We're going to save that. And we're going to call this, and you want to give it a name. There's that Shelby County Generator Project. When you save it and open it back up, that's when you can actually go in and fill out the forms or fill out the different data fields in there. Okay? So once again, it's giving us a 18-page application. One of the things it didn't include was it didn't include the pictures and the supporting files. We're working with Stantec to get all that information included. All the questions that you answered, including your alternative project. That's included in here. Alternative actions. That's included in. Okay, the location. All that information you put in is all included in there for you. Okay, so that kind of wraps up how to work through that project application. We will be sending you an email letting you know when everything is ready to go, as far as when you can jump in and actually start working on it. These projects are due to Frankfurt July 31st. That's what I was told yesterday. I want to make sure I've got that right. But please go ahead and start working on them as soon as possible. As soon as we get that email to you, go on ahead, jump in there and start working on those. Again, if you have questions about the content of your application, get with your grant manager. Oh, I was going to show you where our contact information is. I'm sure you probably already have it, but let me take you back to the front page of CHAMPS that you'll actually be working in. Off of that front page where it says CHAMPS, if you notice on the right-hand side, and I'm going to zoom in on it, on the right-hand side, it has all of our contact information. So it has Amanda's information, Todd's, Esther's, Jenny Jo's, and then, of course, for system-related questions, please be sure and contact me. After the webinar today, I will send you a link to this video so that you can listen to it again if you have any kind of questions. Any final questions? And Rebecca, you had a couple of questions. I will get those questions answered for you. I've got those copied here. I'll get a response back to you on that. As far as your elevation certificates and project management costs and the fees table and your supporting documents. So anybody else have any more questions? If not, hope you have a wonderful weekend. Hope you have a great Derby day. Hope your horse wins and you win a bunch of money on it. So, alrighty. So you guys have a great day and thanks for attending the training. Take care. Bye-bye.